So first things first, what I want to do is strip the paint off of this. I posted on ARFCOM and someone else had was able to strip their paint, and it does look like paint. So another thing is the stock, the furniture and stuff is actually has black paint on it as well, which I didn't realize that was paint. That person actually said that they had rack numbers underneath the black paint on the stock. So I'm gonna have to be careful when I do that. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this Jasco paint and epoxy remover. At first, just around here, I don't necessarily care about stripping it per se right now. I just care about getting the paint off of these markings to see how good the markings are. And whether the scratches where somebody had scratched the paint off to see the serial number, if that's going to be an issue or not. Here's the stripper applied. I wanted to also add, don't touch this stuff. It'll burn your hands, like chemical burn type thing. And it smells bad. It's not too bad with the small amount, but we'll leave this on here and see what it does. On other paint I've done, you can actually physically see and hear the paint crackle and come up. So I'm curious to see how well this does on this paint, whatever it is. Here we are at just under 15 minutes. You can see the paint kind of peeling up already, so I'm gonna leave it a few more minutes and then wipe it off and see how it does. So here it is after the first pass with that stuff, and that's actually pretty good. That got most of the paint off really easily with the paper towel. So I'm gonna go ahead with that, I think, because you can barely tell the scratch. And if I might leave it, or if I decide to refinish, I could do that too. But as far as having it re-welded, that's a-okay. I'm gonna probably take the areas that the guy would need to weld and probably strip the paint from there, just to make his life easier. But other than that, I'm okay with that. So I figured while I'm at it, I might as well take some of these parts out. For example, the trigger guard, which I'm a little bit confused. I thought there was a pin there. Maybe there is, it might just be painted over. So I'm gonna try that. And then also the mag release, as well as the bolt. I guess that's a bolt release. So let's do the easy one first. Let's do the mag release. Should just be as simple as finding a way to push this down and then spin the other side like that. It's a little precarious. And I need something better. It does not want to go all the way. Okay, I think I'm just dumb. I didn't realize there was a lip on the part, so this should actually work. I just didn't push hard enough, so it can actually go. It just doesn't really want to. I think that ejector, the bolt release, sorry, would need to come out first. Yeah, so we'll do that first. That is just a pin. It's actually a tricky pin. It's actually a little bit easier because it's cut. So we'll just put it here, I think, so that this punch is too big. It's a little baby punch. I don't know if that has a direction. It might, so I'm gonna try the other direction. I think that's why this one was so hard to do. So I've done this before on the regular AR. Just doesn't seem to want to go anywhere. Oh, that's a roll pin. That's probably part of the problem. So I need a roll pin punch. My bad. So like that. This one. Yeah, I think that'll work. Ow. Maybe the smaller roll pin punch. That's more like it, I think. It's a little bent though. that doesn't really want to move. Let me see, I want to make sure I'm doing this right. Okay, no, I'm doing that right. I think it's just, that's a tough pin to do, and it's probably been painted over, so I just need to give it some more oomph. Very careful amount of oomph. Let me try this one more time. I think that might be it. Yeah, it's moving. See that? Right there. There we go. That's almost out. That pin, just about. There we go. The pin's out. I could probably reuse that. I might, just because it's the original. Doesn't really matter. But for now, what we'll do is I'll just hold this down with my finger, remove the punch if I can. It's a little tricky. Okay, use this smaller other punch to get the other punch out. Huh. Yeah, I think it's the angle, honestly. It's kind of stuck. Also, the punch being, there we go, being bent doesn't help. Hopefully I don't think I scratched anything. If not, I mean, if I did, it's not in a critical point, so that is now falling out. Then we got the dirty ball bearing and spring. Or it's not a ball bearing, it's a detent, it's a plunger, whatever. So I'm just gonna, well, there we go, it falls out. It's a detent. And then the spring, so I'll remove that as well. And we can put that together in a bag. And that's our bolt stop thingy majig. Okay, and now that that's out of the way, we can go ahead and get the rest. So we can get this thing out. I'm just gonna do that. And then it's all the way. And at some point it might be enough to where I don't have to hold this, but I don't want to let go because I have a good purchase on holding that pin. There we go. Okay, and then this pops out, and so does the spring. So that's another part. It helps if I put the roll pin in here. I'll put these together. I know where they go. I'm not going to have any trouble knowing that this is the magazine release stuff, so just go ahead and put that in there. The last thing here, so before we get to the trigger guard, is the takedown pin, which I think should be pretty easy. Just push it with a punch. I thought it would be easy. There we go, it's moving. Yeah, it moved a little. That's pretty tight. I don't think it's supposed to be that tight, but it does need to come out, so. There we go. Takedown pin. It's almost out. We just got to get the detent. Okay, so now that we've got it to this point, the pin is captured. It's not going to go any further, so what you're supposed to do is push the detent down, turn the pin, and pull the pin out while capturing the detent with your hand or something. The only way with the tools that I have to do this is with this little screwdriver. You can kind of sort of dig it in there, and I'm not sure how much that's actually pushing down the detent. Looks like a little bit, possibly enough. I don't know. No, not enough. So I think the way to do this would be to have this not captured yet. So not have it not like this, because you don't want it stuck in that hole on the other side, because that's going to make it hard to grab the pin, the detent. So I think what I'm going to do is do it now, which actually pushes it down pretty easily, and then rotate the pin like that. Now that was pretty easy. The one video I found on YouTube made it sound like you're really gonna scratch something if you do it like that. However, I think it seems like, oops, I didn't mean to do that. I think it was crusty and didn't go very far. But I think what really helps here is if you don't let it click in, because then you're trying to grab from the hole, from the detent when it's inside the hole, which you can't really catch anyway. So you really have to have it not stuck in the hole first, and then it's pretty easy. So this will go in a separate bag because it's similar looking to the other detent. I did scratch that a little bit, actually a lot. So that sucks, and that's my fault for trying incorrect methods. These are easily replaceable, so I'll reinstall it, and if I have issues I'll replace it, but I'd rather not if I can help it. Hello, Ryan from the future here. I somehow lost the video clip of this part originally, but the trigger guard removal is actually pretty easy. There's actually a pin right here. Ignore the fact that the Reweld is done. You basically, there's a detent pin spring thingy right there. You basically just push that in all the way, and this thing wiggles out. So as you can see, like that, and it's really easy to put it back. I'm sure you could probably take something to squish it, but basically what I did was use the part itself to squeeze the little pin. First time was easier, but I promise you it's not that difficult. Just squeeze the pin. And then you pop it in. You might want to be a little more careful, and I probably will be more careful when I actually go to install this. Let me see if I can do it any better, because that feels like it's rubbing metal to metal, and I'd prefer not to have that happen with when I refinish this. So take a nice punch, big flat end, not mushroom too bad, and then I'm just gonna stick it in there where as far as it'll go, and then push. Okay, that's actually easier. You might as well do that. So there you go, that's that. As far as taking the pin and spring out, which I will do because I need to paint this trigger guard. Let me do that real quick. It looks like a very tiny roll pin right here. Goes on both sides. So let me grab a roll pin punch for that. It's a little tricky. It doesn't want to stay. Tappy tap. Okay, so this is not clamped down super well, so it may undo itself. There we go. So we have this part. I'm gonna grab the roll pin really quick. Right here. It's very tiny. This is going in its own bag because there are lots of tiny roll pins that most of the time probably don't get removed, and I'd like to keep them separate. Okay, so I see how this works. It basically, the pin only holds the spring in place, so pushing this is not going to help us. We just have to keep a finger there so the spring doesn't get sprung. We'll have to do something interesting when it comes to reinstalling, because that's going to be a little difficult to get with the spring sprung. So pull this out. The detent should come with it, just like that. And there we have it. Trigger guard is disassembled further than probably anyone ever does, but I want to paint this, and I don't want to have to paint off or tape off all the other parts. So there we go. What actually worked pretty good to get the rest of the remaining paint off was lacquer thinner. So just this stuff, just put it on a rag and wipe it. You honestly probably could have sprayed the whole thing and it would come off. The only thing is that people say that lacquer thinner leaves a coating or leaves like a film. So I went and washed it off and all that again afterwards. I think what I want to try on the upper when I get to it is acetone. We'll see if that does anything. It seems like that this Jasco stuff, I've had the same problem working on a motorcycle gas tank. It'll strip most of the paint, but then it gets to the last little bit and you're sitting there reapplying it and it's still not coming off. But I'm thinking maybe it's not such a good remover. I might need to find something else, like a spray on. A spray honestly would be easier to use because it's a pain to have to brush that on and hope you got it everywhere, and it doesn't work all that well and it doesn't wash off easily. So anyway, that's the results. Once this gets welded to an 80%, I will finish the 80%. And then I think what I'm going to do is use, is it Reweld? Yeah, Reweld Moly. They have specific colors. I'll have to figure out which color I need and see if I can do that myself. It sounds not complicated and not hard, but annoying, which I think you use an airbrush. I'm not sure. We'll get to that when we get to it. But for now, this is it stripped, and I think it actually almost looks okay as it is. There's some more I need to do in the magwell, but overall, like, see, I think this is the original finish because that did not strip off from paint. So whatever it was. So I was about to get ready to send this lower off to get re-welded, and I found something a little concerning. See, look at that angle there. It's not straight, and it doesn't go on. It doesn't go on the upper. In fact, it's like significantly bent. It looks like this may have been dropped and it's bent inward. And so I'm not sure what I want to do about that. I may just smack it with a hammer, a mallet, not a hammer, and see what happens. Because I guess I'd like to do this in a non-destructive way. However, the non-destructive way is to physically unbend it, which could either work or it could be really bad and break it. So that's one thing. The other, I guess it's the difference between non-invasive and destructive. So beating it would be the non-invasive way, but if it fails, it could break it. That's a good point though. If it does break off, I think I could re-weld it, but I'd rather not have to do that. The other way would be to leave it as it is. It would be invasive. I would have to file this flat, or at least file it to clear, and hope that the hole is straight enough to take the pin still, which it probably is because the pin was in it and it came out. I'll actually show you. Okay, yeah, it is a little off center, off kilter, you might say. I could probably get it to go all the way, but with some force. It's actually stuck now, so that tells me that this probably happened during transport at some point of the kit, not the rifle. Because if it had been the rifle, someone would have probably filed this or drilled it to make it fit. So what that tells me is I think what I'm going to try is the non-invasive method of beating it with a hammer. And then we'll see what happens. I think the easiest way might be to take it, find a way to get it against something flat here, and then just bam, like that, just once, one try at a time. And if we're lucky, this aluminum is strong enough. I mean, if it bent once, it can probably bend again. So that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. The reason I noticed it was actually because I was looking at at how well I had stripped around the area that he would need to weld, and I noticed I missed a spot with the paint right here. So I was going to take some acetone or lacquer thinner, one of the two, and just wipe it off. However, we have encountered a slight problem. So I'm going to deal with that first. Maybe a little bit. It's hard to tell, but I don't think so. It could have moved a little. A lot of it is going into this motion here. I really probably need to clamp this, but I really don't want to clamp it. It's bending the bar. That bent something. It was not, in fact, the lower. It really still hasn't changed much, if anything. I'm tempted to try to stick it on there, just let it hammer on there, see what happens. But I don't want to break anything. So I've got it going about the old-fashioned way. I'm gonna see if these pliers can just go shunk. I've got this clamped the best I know how. I don't have a, what do you call it, receiver block, but I'm also not going to be, I don't think I'm going to be able to be banging on this, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. I say that now, but I'm going to see if I can get it to move at all. Probably not, but we'll see. These are much more solid than the bolt was. Let's hope this does something. Only thing is I can't really see. Okay. Oh shit. I was afraid of that. Well, there goes my receiver stub. I'm an idiot. I was afraid of that. Oh my god. I'm an idiot. Well then, I got this back a couple days ago from the guy that does the re-welds, and he did a great job. Once this is refinished, I doubt you'd be able to tell, except maybe here, that it's been welded. I think I'm going to see if I can fill these in, either with JB Weld or something. This one I'm not sure. I'm assuming that's part of the engraving process. Has that little dot right there. That doesn't bother me that much, to be honest. And then the crack that I was a doofus and made, he got that welded and fixed. I'm gonna have to take and get some of the rough parts off of that. No big deal. Interesting to see. I have welded before. I would not consider myself a welder. I would have thought that you would weld the entire crack, but it may be, I'm sorry, you can't see that. I would have thought you would weld the entire crack, but he didn't do that. He welded the top where it had started and got it flush here. And so you can see a little bit, not really. I'll get a light in a second, but The crack is actually still where it was as it's welded, which kind of makes sense because this was this way, this was bent. And so I guess in order for this to be straight without having to do a whole bunch of nonsense that might mess this piece up, it needed to stay that way. So I don't know. Anyway, it is straight and a mag will fit in there like so. So that's functionally it's fine. I'm just interested in as to why he didn't do the entire crack, but that's besides the point. It's functional and it's fine, as there's really no stress on here. If there was stress on this, I might be more worried about it. But as far as like functional for this piece, it's literally just the magwell. I think it's fine. Here's a slightly better view of that crack. Yeah, you can see how the crack is still there. It's just he just welded it up at the top and it still goes down there, but it does make sense because see how straight that is? If anything, it's a little bit wider now than it was before. It kind of had to be that way, and maybe it was too risky to try to seat the crack back where it came from. It fits. It's a little loose, but what I found by putting this upper onto a regular Palmetto State Armory upper, or lower, it's also loose on there. That upper is tight on its own upper, but on this upper, it's loose. I'll show you what I mean. So I have to put the pin in this way. That's where it goes. That's the other thing. I still need to go in there and takes I don't know if I need to sand it or what, but this pin almost goes. It doesn't go all the way. It gets stuck somewhere in here. I don't know if there's a burr. It could be a burr. It could just be with the pin, with the ear getting bent one way and then back the other, that it's not 100% straight. Who knows? But see, there's quite a bit of slop there. And then if we put this pin in, it's pretty sloppy. I may do something about that. I'm not sure what. There's a video of a guy for an AR doing an O-ring around this piece. I tried that and then it doesn't fit. So I don't know. Maybe I used the wrong size. The other thing is, I think once I put the springs in here, and this pin and this pin, the retaining springs, and once there's a buffer spring pushing against this, I don't think that will be as much slop as this. So it also might not matter that much, but that's quite a bit of slop. So that'll be something to deal with when we get to it, but not right now. Yeah, a big part of what I'm going to do next is I think I've decided to do Norel's Molly, but because all these parts are painted with stupid black spray paint, I'm gonna have to go strip that. So this upper, I'm gonna have to probably further disassemble, take the sight off, strip the paint, all the same thing with the sight block. The barrel, I don't know for sure, but that looks just parkerized to me, and that's what the PSA barrel, or no, it's not a PSA barrel, it's from PSA, but it's an H&R 20-inch 1 in 12 twist barrel is what I'm going to go with, I think. That looks just parkerized to me. Yeah, so I think that would probably be fine to leave on its own. So what I would do is paint the barrel components before I put them on. At some point I may weather it, depending on how I like the look, or I might just I'll probably honestly just keep it as is for a while once I have the finish, because it would seem kind of counterintuitive to work that hard to apply the correct finish and then sand it off or scrape it off or whatever. Anyway, that's that project for now. So the best I can tell, when this starts binding, it's honestly kind of hard to see. I would imagine if anywhere, it's probably binding at the back here because of the ear being out, and maybe the other side on this side right here. I'm not sure. I think the best way to actually deal with this is to take some Dykem blue and then run this pin in and out a few times, as much as I can by hand, and see which side is binding, and then very lightly sand or file on that side. Okay, so I got the blue stuff on there. I'm just gonna carefully go it in there. And do this a few times. That should give me a pretty good idea of where it's catching. Okay. So it does appear to be mostly here. It's like from here to here, which would indicate this side. So this outside edge of that hole. Sorry, this hole. So basically it goes in here, the outside edge of this hole right there, about that much in the middle. So I need to take something and deal with that. So I'm just gonna take this round-sided file and just very slightly, almost no pressure at all, just take a little bit away. And then check it. You can honestly check it like that. Until it's a fit, as the kids would say. Okay, try that. It may not take that much at all, to be honest, or it might. Is that helping? I'm not sure, but closer. Okay, it does seem to be kind of biased towards the bottom as well. So like the bottom, and it doesn't quite go to the top. So It's the last little bit. I could probably hammer it and it would go, but that being the part that cracked from me trying to bend it, even though it's welded, I don't want to do that. Okay, I'm gonna redo the blue so I can get a baseline of where I'm at now. So there's actually somewhere here as well, which puts that at the inside. I'm sorry. That puts that about here. And there is still somewhere at the bottom-ish. So that would be like here. And that was here. Okay. It's getting there. It's getting there. Not quite, though. Yeah, definitely somewhere. Not so much on the outside. Oh, there is some, but there's more. Seems to be. It's actually catching here. And it's on the, which makes sense because this would get bent that way, which would put this whole face sticking out more there. So that's kind of like here and more towards this inside face of it as well. So something along these lines. See how that does. It's getting closer every time. That seems to be the majority of it though, and I don't know if that's new now or not. New where? I don't really see any wear on the bottom. It's mostly just here, and it's mostly here, almost at the top, and all down along the edge. So I need to do a little bit at the top. Seems to be a big part. and then just kind of down the side. Okay. That is it's about the same, I guess. Let's see. I'm gonna put some more blue on it and check again. Oh, it goes in. I'm not sure what I did different. I guess I just pushed it hard. I literally just put this stuff on it, and now it goes in. I think potentially if I take the die off, it might be okay now. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I'm just stupid, and maybe this was that kind of fit. No, because it would get like stuck. I would put it, and I could not push it to go in all the way. Now it's easy. It's just a click. So yeah, that is correct, I believe. So now I should be... I didn't get the die off yet. It is a little bit stubborn, so I'll have to deal with that later. But let's just test fit in with the upper on. That's really nice, actually. And with the spring, that's going to be perfect. The fact that it clicks in right now is really good. There we go. And like I said, it's got some wobble. We might be able to fix that later, or it may not be an issue. Who knows? You know what, too? This isn't totally straight on here. This upper goes more that way, but really, I mean, it fits. This is the way it fits on this lower, so I think there's not much to do about that, and it's not really that big of a deal in my opinion. All right, so this is all kinds of wacky. This is not the way it's supposed to be done, obviously. I'm just gonna put this on like this. I know it has the detent and everything. I just want to see what spring pressure does to the fit. So forgive me for the sins I'm about to commit. Okay, well, that is spring pressured. And you know what? There is slop. None forward to back. It's side to side only. And it doesn't seem all that bad, honestly. It's really just wobbly. And that's without the detent springs as well for the pins. So that's just as is. So if there was anything I could do to maybe put a washer on this side, because that's where it seems to need to go. It needs to go this way a little bit. So yeah, I think it's fine. I'm not too worried about it. Actually, I don't know. That's a lot of slop. I'll figure it out eventually.